I've seen people pay a price. You have too. But living is at the end of the day so much more rewarding than not living. And we're here to live. That's why we were given a life.
Here's something I'm going to throw at you because I think you'll love this one. But I think here's the first thing I would request that people do. I do it in here. And I request that they learn a little Greek philosophy and go back to Socrates and what he found at the Oracle of Delphi. And take your time with this one. I'll encourage people, you can fire it out. But I would say the first thing you have to do is to know yourself. Know thyself is what Socrates found at the Oracle of Delphi. Once he knew himself, and the self is always changing, we can parse metaphysics all day long, but then you have to do and follow Shakespeare, and to thine own self be true. So you've got to see, who is it that I am? What do I want to be? And then, am I being true to myself by existing, or am I really choosing life? Do I really want to live and pay the price? Because there's the price. Nothing comes for free of really living, and do that before I die. What would you say to that?
I've been on both sides of the coin, and you have too. And that's why we've kind of landed in the business, entrepreneurial, corporate space, that whole area, because there is a price for freedom. And we've all seen people pay the ultimate price for freedom, whether it's freedom of speech, freedom of religion, whatever the freedom is, right? Yeah. Throughout history. And we haven't seen the end of that now. There will always be a price for that. But then we have to sit back and really weigh the personal calculation of the price of settling, the price of existing, the price of not to thine own self be true, the price of never knowing yourself. And I will make this closing argument all day until I leave the planet. Okay, this is my closing argument, that the price of not living is so much greater and more painful than the price of fully living. It just is. It's just going to be. And I love what you said about Socrates and the whole Socratic piece, because Socrates had the Socratic method, and they all learned back in the day, the Greek day, the Socratic method, which is by questions. You ask questions and you learned. It was questioning, the Socratic method. And the great teachers didn't necessarily answer your question. It was Socratic. They asked the question to get you to arrive at the answer, kind of like modern day therapy, that the therapist practice is like the question, the probing thing, and personal development, the probing thing. And what I find is that with humanity as a whole, and I'm not talking so much the Eastern world, because a lot of them, they're in turmoil and big struggle, and they don't have time for the luxury of personal development that we do and the resources we do. But in this country, let's just take the US, that we would be so better served as a nation if we engaged in Socratic, because people are scared to ask questions. They're scared to ask questions of themselves. Who are they? To thine own self be true. They don't ask questions of themselves. They don't ask questions of their circumstances. They don't question things to arrive at better solutions and question, why is this bad thing here? And how do we get rid of it? It has been stripped and untrained from people to ask questions. There's so much power in questioning, and you hit it. The questioning of ask yourself who you are, and then ask yourself, who do I truly want to be? Who am I truly? And then deciding to live that. That's all very powerful. Start with those questions. But I maintain not asking the questions is far more painful than asking them. And I've seen people pay a price. You have too. But living is at the end of the day so much more rewarding than not living. And we're here to live. That's why we were given a life. So that's my argument for that. And I don't want people like today saying, okay, I'm done, and throwing everything in the air and running out and trying something. I want you to do this with a plan, right? Wow. It's something you step into, you grow into. You don't just, execute on it today and blow up your entire world. But there is a way that before you leave the planet, to your own self, you will be true. And you will, if you make up your mind to be, and you will fully live in that. And maybe that's the essence of it, Bill. Maybe you nailed it, is that when you are your true self, the real self you really know is in there. Okay, the real one that's here to do big things, or at least great things on any scale, small, medium, or large. Maybe that is the real secret to happiness in life for most people, right? It's that kind of different vantage point to it.
Let's flip the coin, because one of the main sources of unhappiness is when people fight their true nature. You got to work with your nature. and not work against it. And when so many people work against their true nature, that is the biggest source of unhappiness that I've seen. And you just hit on my style of mentorship as I ask questions, because it empowers people to find the answers. If they're going to find my answers, I'm always going to be giving them the answers. So I want people to be able to think. It takes a lot longer. It's a longer process, but 4 basic questions, and keep shrinking the questions into a box. They answer, and then they're empowered. There's 3 forms. I'll just throw this out to you in my way of thinking of leadership. One is the director. Do this now, do this now. It's very fear-based. The other one is a situational authority. Sometimes you have to inform people as to how you'd like it done. But the biggest exponential difference maker is influence. And you grow influence when people learn the way, the style, and can think for themselves, and then take those actions, responsible actions, to further the collective growth as they do the individual enterprise. It's really that simple, and it ain't that hard. But we don't want to be seen as leaders without clothes. The emperor has no clothes, so we're afraid to ask the questions because we might not know the answers. Then we're not invincible anymore, and we're not the all-knowing, the omniscient Oz. Well, I can go on with this forever, but we'll get off that one for now.
I like the leadership piece, because you're really speaking about leadership from the front, right? And there's leaders who lead from the back and say, charge, you go do it, right? And just woof, right? There are others that lead from the front. There's some that flank, which is the situational. They come in from the sides when you need them, and they flank, and they save the day or whatnot. But I love what you're doing, because you're leading from the front. Right? You're putting it out there who you are. And as long as you lead from the front and you lead with integrity, people will follow you. I mean, they're not expecting you to be superhuman, but they are expecting you to lead strong and lead from the front. And your coaching and the consulting that you do, it's all about self-reliance, isn't it? And being your own self and living your life and being your greatest self. We have to put that self-reliance back into, at least people in this country, to be self-reliant, not waiting for people. Question, make your own decisions, create your own opportunities, your own path. It's the self-reliance. And true leaders who lead from the front, they've got self-reliant people behind them carrying the day. That's who they choose, right?
My first book, Always Forward, was all about self-reliance.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's
all about self-reliance. And inherent in the definition is personal responsibility for the outcome. Owning the process. And I'll tell you something that's empowering as a leader that I learned. I don't know. I'm okay with my vulnerability. When I say I don't know, I'm okay. I'll find the best answer if one is available, but I'm not going to bullshit people. I'm not going to prevaricate. I'm not going to sit there and waffle and stammer. Sometimes I just don't know. And at first I always had to be right now. Now I'll just push back and say, let me think about it. Terrible money losing decisions happen when you have to be right now. So
I love that. That's very true. Very true.
Let's fly into an awkward segue then. Let's go with you're a certified Christian and spiritual coach, certified, and you specialize in love, the big picture, and here we go, helping others and the inclusion of all. Now that is an audacious endeavor. So how do you go about doing that?
Just have a big heart, nice and easy. Just you have a big heart, and you realize all paths lead to one. That's how I view it. Everybody has a different thinking. I don't impose, but I'm like, all paths lead to one.
You've managed to, I think, at least from this vantage point, you've managed to not let that big heart of yours become maybe, let's say, corroded in some way or disappointed in the actions of others. You've been able to keep that thing imbued with this power of purpose and this love for all, despite the people that have had to disappoint you. So how do you separate that? And how do you keep going in that way?
Love this question. Absolutely love this question. I have human moments like everyone else. So it's not always just big hearts. Like if right now, if we were on Facebook and the hearts were flying around me right now, it's not always that way. Okay. Because I was a litigator. So we have to put that straighten that piece out. But from my basic core is I do believe most people are good. I have been horribly disappointed by people. I've been horribly hurt by people. You have, probably everybody else in the room, your other guests. That's just life. That's just living. And I'm not saying that I'm totally pure in not having feelings that aren't really nice, because if somebody really comes at you or they're unfair, or the big one for me is the injustice to others, that just gets me going, right? That will really get me on my box. But overall, on balance, I'm such a positive person. And, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about positivity all the time. And I'm so glad somebody's out there at least saying these words like happiness and positivity and leadership and self-reliance and, paying it forward. Because once these things get in the psyche, if more people thought this way, you'd find other like people doing the same thing. And I actually think the media as a whole has shaped America's self-image and the image of it around the globe, not the actual people in it. I think that if we had different media coverage, everybody would think about things totally differently. So when I look at life on balance, I feel so blessed with all I've been given and all I've achieved, right? And all I'm about to achieve and everything I can do. So I try to stay in that wheelhouse as much as possible. A lot of it is the spiritual piece. I'm highly spiritual and faith-based in a lot of ways without judgment and inclusion and all of that. So I believe in a higher power. I believe I'm here to do good and I'm to stay in a good way as much as I possibly can to be a role model for others and to help others do the same, to role model for others. So yeah, you have your human moments and give yourself those moments. Give yourself the disappointments, give yourself the letdowns, whatever, but don't dwell there. Don't stay there. Get back on track as fast as you can. Now that's easier said than done, but I find this is what I do. Now, for serious traumas, that's a totally different wheelhouse. But for the other disappointments or garden variety things that don't work out the way they should, the one thing I do, and I teach my clients this, is when you're in there and you feel stuck, you've given yourself your moment, right? Because you need to get that stuff out, right? You get it out, you give yourself your moment. Now, keep asking yourself until you get past it, what is the opportunity of this? What is the opportunity of this? Ask it again and again and again, because it focuses your energy away from it. It starts letting you see a brighter path, something else positive coming, something you can focus on. And that really helps you move out of that stuck place where you get stuck and maybe your heart might get hardened and you can't bring it anymore. It helps you get to the other side of it and keep your humanity and keep your optimism and just your feeling like, I'm really blessed to be alive. I'm blessed to have this life. I can do something here.
And that's a great question because it brings that base of instinct and emotion in the lower part of your brain, the stem and the mid part of your brain, up to the top part of your brain. We can actually rationally think, the CEO brain. By asking that question, what's the opportunity here? You start to break the pattern of feeling like you're lost and you're down in the dumps.
Well said. Well said.
We both share that. So how do you define success?
It's going to be subjective for me. I can't help it, okay? I think towards the big. I think towards greatness. Everything to me is always supersized, monster size. And I've been that way since I was a child. I would rescue maybe a butterfly, right? And I would build like a tent for it with pipe cleaners and Kleenex. It was like this thing out of the Sahara that you put a camel in because I just could never conceptualize things being small. I just can't. And that's what I love to bring to people is just the big and greatness. So as long as you feel that you are, you're fully living, as long as you feel you're fully contributing in some way to something, that to me is basic success. And I know that if that's your definition of success, meeting it is happiness because that is a formula for happiness. So that's kind of, now I have my own personal definitions of different things, but overall success for me at the end of the day, when I close my eyes is, did I do what I wanted to do on the planet, fully live, fully take a swing at things, win or no, business, career, whatever it is, win or no, but did I take a full swing before I jumped to the next place? And as long as I can say you took a full swing, because nobody's going to win, hit all the time. Nobody's going to have everything work out. That's life, right? Because we're supposed to grow in the pain. But as long as I take that full swing, that's success. So every day, as long as I throw myself out of a plane or I try to help others or I do something that's living, that's success for me. And it's not necessarily tied to money.
You can make the Hall of Fame in baseball if you get on base get hits 3 out of 10 times. So
there you go.
Pretty good failure rate. So you've had to have the swing that you struck out on. So what is your biggest failure, and where did you find the opportunity in it?
My biggest failure was that I didn't make the leap sooner. And that, you talk about regrets, but I'm curing that regret every day. So by the time I leave the planet, even today, heaven forbid, I check out. At least I know I went out swinging. So I think I pretty much ameliorated that, right? But my biggest regret, my biggest mistake was that I didn't take the leap sooner. And as I said, my health broke. And it wasn't the end of the world, but it broke. And I had to make a decision. I think I made the right decision at that time. But after that, I could have moved into the space I'm in now sooner. But I believe everything happens for a reason too. So I kind of balance that out. But that was my biggest thing, is that I didn't take the leap sooner. But then again, if I'd taken it, I might not be right here, right now, talking with you, which is to me an amazing opportunity. And it's kind of living. It's wonderful. So it's funny because that was always my regret. And that regret propelled me to leave corporate, right? That propelled me to do what I've done now, create my own global business out of thin air in three years or so, right? So that's what propelled that regret. Because I was like, I'm not going to my next place with this on my mind, because I can fix this. At any age, you can fix this stuff. You just can. And I'm a big believer in that. Gary Vee says in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, if you've got something to bring to market, the market will accept you. Even at 100, it will accept you. I mean, there are people listening to these people who just learned to read at age 100. They're listening to them. They're counting their opinions for something. Everybody has worth, from the very young to the very old, and we can all be successful at any given time. So that was my regret right now. I can't say, because I think it's all kind of like, it all kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. But up until this point, it was that I didn't leave sooner, and that I was not living before I was dying. I was working my life away. And so what? I was an attorney, in Maryland and DC, and I did an office in Northern Virginia, and in that belt, I had success. But so what? In the history of mankind, in the history of today on the planet, so what? And it's not the so what about other people seeing me. That's not what I'm talking about. Not that ego thing. I'm talking about it was so what to me, right? Because after a few years of doing the same thing, I was very good at what I did, but the challenge was only stamina. It wasn't intellectually, it wasn't creating, it wasn't really making a broad difference for people. I was always defined by my clients that the company had me represent, right? Which was great. I loved my clients, but there wasn't that freedom that we talked about at the top of the episode, the freedom that came with really living. So all of those regrets swelled until I finally said, okay, you either make the decision or you stop regretting and stop complaining to yourself about it. You take the leap, you put it all on the line like you want to do, and you just go live. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you come back and you build the same thing again, which people are going to want to hire you because you're so trained and so good at it. What's the worst that's going to happen? And people say, oh, that was horribly embarrassing. You went off to chase a dream, to live your life, to start a business, and it didn't work out. Aren't you ashamed? No, I'm pretty darn happy that you who've never tried, and you're looking at me wanting to do that, right? So glad that I did it. So, what's the downside to living before you die? There's nothing. Mm-hmm. And but that would have been my regret. And I addressed the regret, and now I really don't have the regret. I just don't. I wish there was. We always want more time to accomplish great things on the planet. So what I'll do is I'll just accelerate my timetable.
It's an interesting dynamic how people champion you to a certain point, and then they're waiting for you to fail because they're projecting their fears onto you and say, if it was me, I wouldn't do it. My God, and she's going to fail. So they're waiting for you, and they almost have that German term Schadenfreude waiting to come out to say they're taking pleasure in your fall, and they don't have the courage to take that leap or risk. And that's the masses, thankfully for us.
It also makes them feel, and you know this because I think you've talked about this on your shows and in your book, it makes them feel less than when somebody they know strikes out, because it's like they know they should be doing maybe something different with their life or their relationships or their kids, their career or business or something differently, and they're not, and it makes them feel less than, and it's coming from inside them. It's not a reflection of you. And to be super successful in this life, you have to pave your own way. And guess what? And this is what I tell my clients. People may distance from you, make fun of you, do whatever they're going to do for the time being and say, oh, you're crazy, right? You're crazy taking that, crazy, right? But the moment you have that success, where are those people? I knew he was going to make it. He was going to have a network. He was going to be global. He was awesome. And he's my friend. That, right? So they don't stay away forever. It's a temporary.
Yes.
Thing. And the other thing to keep in mind, and you've noticed this too, I actually don't mind, and I don't have that many, but I don't mind people that would say back in the day, and now it doesn't happen so much, but back in the day when they say, what are you doing? That's kind of crazy. Is it arrogance leaving your career? That's what I was thinking, because I have this great job, et cetera, et cetera. So those people, be thankful for them because they're very transparent, and you can either get mad at them, you can get quiet on them, you can walk away from them, storm away, you take them off your email, you delete them from your phone, whatever, because they're transparent. The dangerous people are what I call the potato salad and deviled egg people. They're the ones when you're, hanging out and, maybe at a picnic or something like that. And you say, oh, I've got this great idea, this great dream. And they go, how about another deviled egg? How about some potato salad? Those are the worst, right? The neglectful people, the people who say, I'm going to minimize you in the second. Those are the ones that you've got to also be on guard for. So touche, on guard.
You've been traveling the Southeast, haven't you?
No, well, I'm kind of in the Mid-Atlantic area, so close enough. I just
wondered if you were in a backyard somewhere in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I guess
I am in Delaware, a few miles from the Atlantic Ocean at a beautiful resort community. It's called Rehoboth Beach in Lewis, Delaware. Very upscale, very beautiful, very nice here. And we're 3 hours travel out of New York City just by car, and train is even shorter, about an hour and 45 minutes out of Philadelphia, and 2 hours drive from DC. So it's central to everything, and you've got this beautiful ocean resort area. It's gorgeous beaches, gorgeous restaurants. It's fabulous here. It's really nice.
She knows that business and personal success equal happiness. She also knows she's going to choose to live before she dies. And she's going to take that chance. She fails, so what? She'll just keep trying.
I'm good. I went through that hurdle. I went through a dark day. I should tell you about that, because there was a time where I didn't think it was going to work. Everything was on the line, but then it came right back up, and now it's flying. So you have to hang in. You have to persevere.
Yes, you have to have perseverance. And there has to be a certain point, and this is Seth Godin, not me. There has to be a certain point where if you either have the aptitude to do it and the attitude, but if you don't have the aptitude, you're going to get to a certain point, no matter how long you hang in there and hang on, you're not going to be able to do it. If I wanted to be an astronaut, don't have the math skills to do it, don't have the aptitude, couldn't do it, no matter how much attitude I have behind that. And you got to be in the right environment, one that mentors and coaches and supports and feeds. So it's an environment free from fear where you can express and flourish and grow.
Yeah, and Jack Canfield said something. I'm going to echo off of that because I think that's brilliant, right? I'm going to echo off of that. Canfield, and he said this, I think it was Oprah, but he said this recently, within the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, and he said, you're not going to be given a dream, and you're given a dream. That's what he believes. You're not going to have a dream given to you and a dream that you hold on to that you do not have the capacity to fill. The universe is not cruel like that. God's not cruel like that, right? The world's not cruel like that ultimately. The big picture, not humans. We're not talking, we know humans can be horribly cruel to each other, but the greater picture of why you're here and whatever your faith is, however you land, wherever you go. But I believe that. I believe that, a real dream, a realistic, not a delusional, but a powerful dream that you won't let go. I believe that you're given that, and because you have the capacity to fill it. So for people listening, if they're like, well, I have this dream, but maybe I don't have the aptitude or whatnot. I think if it's within you, you have the capacity to fill it. And I believe that with every fiber of my being. And that's what I tell my clients. I truly believe that those are great words that he said, and it's true.
It's chicken soup for the soul. Might not have been.
Yeah.
That's how I got him on that one. You got to get off your couch. You got to do the work. You might be able, that's the only way you're going to fulfill those dreams.
Got to do the work.
I'm going to bring this to you as my last question.
Okay. It's been a pleasure. I absolutely love it.
You've been great. I'm going to listen to this one again. And again, if you could write a paragraph on what you've learned, one paragraph, and what you learned from your experiences, one that you could share with others. So when you're 130, you're finally gone, others can take it, learn from it, grow from it. What that paragraph look like?
That paragraph would be, don't wait. And we've talked about a lot about the don't wait, okay? But the paragraph also is, don't wait to claim your expert celebrity status. Don't wait to claim your credentials. Don't wait to get visible. And I'm talking about business and career, professional stuff too, not just your happiness, which it all applies to that too, because I'm big on happiness, right? But don't wait. A lot of people think, well, I have to stair step my way into success and do things. And I'll tell you what's kind of interesting is that in the global consulting realm, like IBM, Deloitte, those big consulting things, Anderson Cooper back in the day, all of that, those people, they go work somewhere for like a year or two, then they go work for the next house, and then they come right back around to IBM, and then they go to another one, and they keep doing the circle because they're not waiting on promotions. And I'm talking about promotions in your happiness, your relationships, your life, your career, across all areas of your life, all the points of a star in your life, right? Don't wait on that. Create your opportunities. And I worked for IBM for a New York Minute, and that was the most powerful thing I took from the culture that goes in that paragraph you want me to share with people is don't be backwards about coming forward. Don't play to your smallness, play to your greatness. Don't play small because it makes you small. It doesn't make anybody bigger. And then don't feel you have to be a new person in whatever you're taking on. I don't care if it's civic volunteering. I don't care if it's professional. I don't care if it's business. I don't care if it's in your life. Whatever it is, don't feel because you start something new, you always have to start at the bottom rung. Don't wait for those incremental promotions. Come in at your skill level. And I heard this, it was very powerful from a guy who said he was a speaker at this forum, and this person stood up. I guess he was 35 or 38, maybe 40. He was still young and just, and he said, I'm a newbie at this, blah, blah, blah. The guy didn't even listen. He got up, he walked off the stage, he went down to the guy and he grabbed him by the shoulders in front of this whole auditorium full of people. I mean, it was a big event, and he didn't shake him, but he kind of did. And he said, I don't want you ever in life, ever to say, I'm a newbie again, because you do one of two things. One, everybody stops listening to you because you're new. Who cares what you think? Your opinion means nothing. Number two, you're telling yourself that you have no value. Don't you ever. He said, look at how old you are. You're telling me you're new at anything? I got news for you. You are new at nothing. Right? So that would be the paragraph. Don't wait. Claim your expertise now. Claim the thing you do, and don't start at those bottom rungs, because starting at the bottom rung, even in relationships, whatever you're doing, if you start at the bottom rung, you are building time into your journey that doesn't have to be there, that you are going to waste. When if you just come in at your place of entry, your true, authentic place of entry, you would expedite your process in business, career, professionally, relationships, your social activities, your volunteering, whatever it is. Step in where you're supposed to be stepping in. Don't settle for less. That's what that paragraph would look like. And live your life. It's got to be in there.
Tremendous takeaways. Our parents knew that we would probably have a problem with memory, so they named us with alliteration. W.W. William Wooditch, C.C. Carolyn Cole. There's a similarity for you on that path that we moved through. Carolyn, you've been a fantastic guest. Really fantastic.
Pleasure. You've been a terrific host, and it's been my honor to be on your show. I love what you're doing with your network, your book, everything about you. So I salute that you made that decision to be self-reliant back when, break all the training, go for it, and now make the difference in the lives of others. So I salute you and your show, and it's been, again, my honor and pleasure. Thank you.
She is unstoppable, Carolyn Cole. For other guests who are unstoppable, subscribe to the Wooditch Network, WOODITCH, and we will bring the fire and passion. Thank you.